Hi there, and welcome to a CoinMode video. Before we get started, make sure to click our subscribe button, make sure you're updated with all our antics, and check out our other social medias that we have listed below. Now, onto the video. So if we sort of get started, first, thank you very much for taking the time to come and speak with us. I know we're very excited to be working with Skrmiish as a whole. So can you introduce yourself, what you do at Skrmiish, your experience and the like?
Perfect. So I'm Luke. I am the CEO of Skrmiish Global and have been with the business for the past kind of 15 months. Originally, I am one of the seed investors in the early stage investors in Skrmiish, and decided to join the team 15 months ago to kind of help lead and hopefully build Skrmiish into a phenomenal success in the industry. My background, I come from I'm trained as a banker, but after kind of 13 months in the industry, decided that working in banking was not in the future for me. And I've always been a big fan of early stage venture building and kind of venture architecture around organizations. So if I get quick highlights of my career, I cut my teeth at a incubator called Rocket Internet in London, where I was part of setting up 7 ventures across multiple different industries, from fintech to grocery delivery, to laundry delivery, to fitness apps, to secondhand car sales. The list goes on. But one of the main businesses I focused on was building operations and product for a business called HelloFresh, which we launched in 2011 across Germany, Netherlands, and the UK. And I was with that business for 6.5, 7 years, where we took it from zero, delivering bags of shopping from delivering to the only people who would buy from us, which are friends and family, to a point where we went public in 2018. We currently, HelloFresh as a business is now a $4.5 billion a year revenue business across about 15 to 20 countries around the world, thousands of employees, and lots of different verticals. Once we went public, I then moved on to another business called Reef Technology, which is innovator in terms of we were looking at, dark kitchens and the last mile delivery. So repurposing of shopping malls and car park or real estate into modern day delivery hubs. So reconverting them into e-commerce delivery, prescription, taxis, digital restaurants, etc. That is also a business that I helped scale from zero. I was there for about 2.5 years. We went from zero to a run rate of around 50 million in less than about 9 months. Took on $1 billion from SoftBank. And at that point, I decided to hand over the reins. I'd just come out of a scale, coming out of another scale up, and decided to take 2 years off. So I took 2 years off and focused very much on giving back. So I worked across 3 different accelerators. I sat as a board advisor to 5 different businesses, as well as setting up my own businesses. So we set up and distributed a eco-friendly cleaning product across the UK with locally sourced plastic out of London. We also set up a vegan pizzeria in London, and also a eco-friendly pub in East London. At the same time, I also am a big fan of packaging. So we've also a great company called Temperback, which is a US-based business, but helped them migrate into the UK and Europe. So kind of sustainable thermal insulation for meal kits and kind of food delivery. And then, so I then decided to kind of join. So, sorry, that's my background. So fortunate enough to again, my passion is kind of years 1 to 3 in scaling and businesses that I believe that have large addressable markets, are kind of global entities, and are normally kind of pioneering industries. So I always try and think kind of 5, 10, 15 years ahead, and where do I believe industries are going. This is my first kind of pure technology play where we're not moving kind of physical product, which has been quite exciting. I think it comes with a wealth of different challenges, but I think it's been great to see the scalability across the world, which so far. So that's me and my background. Um, Next question is what? Actually, I'll leave you.
No, that's fine. I mean, that's a very varied background. You've certainly got around a lot. That's quite impressive.
Thank you. I think I've got a kind of a thirst for building and ventures. I think with these things, years to 1 to 3, again, you're basically in a constant kind of solutions, not problems mindset. And I think again, it's the organizational culture that you get to build kind of from 0 to 500 employees, where you really get to shape and make an impact, which I think is really great, especially when you look at like the youth coming through these days. It's normally highly important that we get to see like what we're doing and the results of our work. And I think that's what I really love, being able to help, guys and girls really learn loads, but then actually illustrate and see the value that they can deliver to the world rather than just kind of box ticking as you do in big organizations.
Yeah, that's definitely a fun part of being more of a startup thing, is the personal touch to all of it, which is good. So anyway, so give us a sort of overview of what Skrmiish is. What does it do?
So Skrmiish is a mobile-based platform to ultimately our aim is to make gaming more exciting. I think if we look at gaming in the last kind of 30, 40 years, it's been a beautiful evolution from the days of watching Pong all the way through to Tetris to like the modern day here where, we are seeing them become, when I look at, I love traditional sports. And when I look at kind of the esports and the growth over the last 10 years, I can see it starting to surpass and outgrow traditional sports, right? I think it very much sits in the generations below us. I think it's a wonderful kind of medium. So Skrmiish is in overall is looking to take what is already there for players and hopefully aim to make it more exciting and improving the fun that players can have in their gameplay. Yeah, that's essentially what our macro vision is, to make gaming more exciting. How we do that is enabling players to put something on the line. So enabling players to, whether they're playing by themselves. So, if I've played a game for thousands of hours, how do we enable them to continue enjoying their game, but enabling them to put something on the line to get that feeling of excitement? Because, we all love when there is something on the line, or when we're playing against someone, there's that added level of like human excitement. It's human psychology. We love to be able to be competitive. So Skrmiish is hoping to elevate that, and we do it in kind of 3 formats. One is through our kind of solo challenges, so enabling players to select and create their own challenges for in-game, where we will then set markets, enable them to price entry amounts, and essentially earn whilst they're playing their games by themselves. We also offer tournaments that are free to play and paid to entry, again, across multiple game titles. So enabling and trying to build communities where players are already playing these games. How do we enable them to earn whilst they're playing? And then the final one is around kind of head to head. We look at 1v1, 2v2, 3v3, 5v5, and building these micro teams from across the globe. Across game titles, players love to put something on the line and prove, that they are better than the others. So we enable them to also matchmake and find other sides or opponents that they can then play against in their normal gameplay.
Cool. So it's very sort of customizable to the customer, isn't it?
Exactly right. I think that the other side, right? If you look at our kind of brand ethos, is not just making games exciting, but enabling them full customization around their competitive environment, right? I think that's the exciting piece, and that's what gamers and communities really love, right? I think with this open source and open communities, putting the power back in their hands, right? They want that flexibility, and actually they're going to be more creative than us as well, right? So if we can give them the tools, they come up with the most exciting, phenomenal things. If we give them the playground to be able to and the freedom to play.
Awesome. So what's your favorite feature? Like, what's your favorite bit about Skrmiish?
So mine at the moment is around our solo challenges. I think if we look across the last kind of 10 years of matchups, it's always phenomenally difficult when it comes to trying to find other parties in terms of player liquidity and making sure guys have fun. I really love the idea of our challenges, is because you're not necessarily, it's open 24 hours a day, so you're not kind of always looking for players. And you're in control, right? They're not looking for the other side. You're still essentially playing against yourself, which we do in most games, right? I think that's the piece I really like. So at the moment, that is the feature that I think is really exciting. I think enabling players not to have to worry about finding other community members if they don't. And again, if I can sit by myself and have loads of fun and have more excitement, great. So it's currently really that is what I'm really passionate about at the moment is our ability to enable players to sportsbook their own gameplay.
Awesome. And what's your sort of, what's the best bit about working for Skirmish as a company?
So I think for me, the people, again, I think it's what I've, there's twofold, right? I think the gaming industry is it's a beautiful industry where it's very community driven. I think if you look at most kind of consumer products and like SaaS businesses or B2B businesses, the actual customer is relatively kind of at a distance, not really engaged, and it's very kind of transactional. When I look at gaming in general, I think it's really integrated, and players and communities want to help build and move things forward. So I think the culture of gaming is what's really quite exciting. I think the other thing it's gaming as well, right? It's meant to be fun. We're meant to play. We're meant to enjoy. And I think it's a big part of work, right? I think if we're able to play and enjoy what we do whilst we're working, it enables us to be, more productive, happier, and to ultimately deliver better work. So I've really enjoyed seeing native gamers kind of really working on products they love. And it's something that Skirmish, in terms of our kind of the policy around culture and people, is we always want to have an 80% over index of native gamers in the business. So I sit outside of that, unfortunately. I do play games. I am a FIFA player. I like to play poker and things like that. But unfortunately, I don't sit as I would never call myself a hardcore pure gamer. So I'm hoping again is we want to build a platform that is actually built by gamers, because I believe that it is, they should be able to build better products for the community if they are actually using these things. So that's why I've been so excited. I think the other side is the excitement is we're approaching and attacking such an industry or a vertical within gaming that I think is very much still in its infancy. And so I'm a big fan of kind of pioneering and leading. It's always a lot riskier, but leading the kind of charge in terms of movement of where the industry is going. So I think the pioneering aspect is really exciting for me. And then the addressable market, right? I think if we think about the size of the gaming population across the globe is phenomenal, right? I think we're north of 2.8 or close to 3 billion gamers across casual and hyper casual. But also it's almost borderless, right? I know we complain about ping and all these other things, but ultimately it is truly a global kind of industry, right? I can very quickly connect and play with anyone from anyone around the world. There may be localization and language issues, but ultimately I'm not it is borderless, right? I'm not bound by wherever my geographic location is. And I think that's really exciting as well, because it enables not only that we can target all these beautiful countries and jurisdictions around the world, but I think when you start to see more and more different backgrounds and demographics engaged together, I think it's quite a wonderful ecosystem. It just breeds more and more creativity.
Yeah. Well, that's something that's really exciting for us as well. So I think we're very much in line with that. So for people who are sort of going to watch this, CoinMode and Skrmiish are working, collaboratively at the moment. So how did you first come across CoinMode, and what did you first think?
So I came across CoinMode. So my belief so I've obviously been a big kind of blockchain and Web3 aficionado for the last 5 years. And I do believe the payment systems around the world are kind of outdated, expensive, slow, clunky. I mean, barriers and barriers and barriers, loads of friction. And my long-term belief is that payments, especially using the blockchain, should be multi-directional, should be frictionless, should not come at the cost of businesses or players. It should just be seamless, right? It should not be an inflection point in any point of call. So CoinMode, again, I didn't want to go down the standard kind of PSP or acquire route. So began kind of scoping across I guess the US and the UK and Europe for a potential option, and came across CoinMode and the founders very much in their infancy. I think we were one of their first kind of engagements as partners, and again, my belief is a company should not own or hold a player's or a customer's finances in any way. I really loved the idea of a player coming to Skirmish and depositing money does not mean that Skirmish is owning or holding any of that currency. You say it is still very much in the player's hands, right? As we say, what I love the fact they're essentially opening a bank account and they have full access to it, right? They can multi-direction transactions, etc. Like there's less fees. It's really like putting the like power back in the player's hands. So I think that was really exciting for me. Then the first piece is then also about scalability, right? Having a ability. Sorry, dogs are going crazy. Having the ability to then also scale, right? If we look at the future plans for Skirmish, is we will be hosting tens of thousands of transactions per second. So being able to have a partner that is able to handle that scale and volume without kind of increasing in cost is hugely important to us as a business. And I think that's another piece where the blockchain piece in CoinMode became hugely important to us as a business.
Awesome. So how you explain the working relationship that we've got between CoinMode and Skirmish, and how it's going?
Yeah, so again, with both of us being in very much early stage development and creation, it means that teams have to work phenomenally closely. I think we are we couldn't be more aligned, and I think especially when it comes to roadmaps and sprints and delivery, we have to almost be joined at the hip in these early stages, because we both go through significant challenges, as any startup does, restraint on capital, never enough human resource or human capital, and normally far too much to deliver. So I think you have to be joined at the hip to really make sure you prioritize and work on topics and features that are the most important to both businesses to drive success over that longer period. I think working with the team has been really great. I think it's been interesting to see the improvement I think I've seen in the founding team over the last 6 to 7 months. They've really they're starting to really become more wholesome. I think wholesome is the wrong word, but starting to be more not driven, but starting to eat through more as a business, right? I think they're delivering quicker, delivering better, which has been really exciting to see. I think there are always challenges, I have to admit, at these early stages, but it's been, we both come to the table with a solutions, not problems mindset, right? So I think there's always going to be heated times, and there's, positive disagreement, I think, is an important piece, but we all know we're working to the same kind of big North Star, if that makes sense, right? We both believe in the bigger term and longer term success. So when we do tackle problems, it's a lot easier that we know we can work collaboratively rather than like pushing up against walls against each other, which is hugely important at these early stages.
Yeah. So how's it been to actually sort of integrate the two softwares together? Like, has it worked out?
Yeah, so I think it's been fascinating, right? Because we in terms of implementation, in terms of the way the CoinMode kind of API is set up, it has actually been phenomenally straightforward, far easier than I would have expected. I think most of our delays and struggles, at least in the early stage, have been more around compliance and regulation and dealing with regulators rather than the technology, which is phenomenal, right? I think if the technology is working and we're driving it forward, that's the really easy bit. There's lots of control there. So I think it's been really it's in terms of the technology and implementation, I've been really impressed at how we've been able to do it. Again, the challenges, of course, with these pieces around regulation and compliance is always difficult, but again, critically important, right? Again, what we want to be able to do is have our players trust us and give them that sense of security that this is the reason we're doing this is to help them in the long term, and give them that confidence then in what we're doing.
Perfect. Well, I'm glad it is going so successfully. It's definitely, I've heard a lot from our tech team and everything, and I know they've been enjoying it and like the various challenges that have come up. So I'm glad it is going well. So overall, then, would you recommend CoinMode, and why would you if you would?
Yeah, I think overall, I would recommend CoinMode on the fact of around this frictionless payments, right? Of multi-directional transactions, and for me, it's twofold, right? I think One is around payment costs and payment fees. So in previous businesses, I always looked at payment fees. They can cost a business anywhere between kind of 3 and 6%. And I fundamentally believe with this integration that we can get our payment fees down to less than 50 basis points. And ultimately what that does is it provides further value to players, right? Because there's nothing out of pocket. They can have more money back in their pocket. There's more money to go into the fund. It helps us as a business as it means we have a bigger bottom line. So I think, again, the piece for me around it is really trying to reduce the cost, increase the frictionless. People aren't, we're not meant to get excited about payments in any shape and form. They should just happen, right? Payments should be a secondary. We blink and they've happened. There should be no worrying about deposits or withdrawals or all the other bits and pieces that come with it. And I think that's the piece that gives me the peace of mind, right? In the long term, I believe that the value we'll be able to provide back to our player base will be demonstrable across using a classic acquire or PSP. The other piece is scalability, right? I think most game titles or game developers, within our first 3 weeks of operation, we had players from 125 jurisdictions around the world. And if you go through the classic kind of PSP acquire route, setting up payment providers in each jurisdiction around the world is time-consuming, costly, laborious, because again, you're dealing with compliance and regulation. And I think what's really great is it's enabled us to open up payments in jurisdictions really quickly, right? I look at last week, we opened up in most of Europe and most of the SEPA countries. So within a space of a week, we have access to almost north of 500 million players. Which again would have taken us far longer if we had gone down the classic kind of acquire route.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you're happy with us and that it's all working very well. That's all I can hope for, really. Yeah.
Exactly. I think there's always lots of challenges. So I think we tackle a lot of fires quite frequently. And I think what's really good is we're getting the fires become less and we get better at tackling the fires together, and better at planning. I think we're starting to also look further ahead. Those early stages, it's hard to look past kind of 4 to 12 weeks. And now we're very much starting to look kind of half yearly, yearly, which is really quite helpful.
Yeah. Well, so that's fantastic. I mean, thank you very much for taking the time and talking with us. It's definitely been very interesting to hear your side of things. So, yeah, thank you very
Brilliant.
much.
Absolute pleasure, Jacqueline.
So that's that. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you found this video helpful. So hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications, and we'll see you next time.